You know my last name, it mean everything to me. I put out on everything, trying to build a legacy. I'm just trying to pave the way so my family can eat. Getting rich, y'all, I know that it's all on me. You know my last name, it mean everything to me. I put out on everything, trying to build a legacy.
You guys ready? Everyone is good? Thumbs up? You guys
Yes,
good?
sir.
Okay, so starting with Leslie, can you please tell the viewers what you do for a living? Which is a lot of things, I know.
Yeah, so I'll keep it short. So my name is Leslie Ramirez. I am the owner of House of Ramirez. I'm a podcaster, a multimedia journalist for two Black-owned magazines. I'm part of quite a few associations for small-owned businesses in the city of Atlanta here in Georgia. I am the marketing firm for the west side of Atlanta. And I'm currently pivoting into a new business venture. So I'm decreasing my workload as, as a marketing firm, 95% by the end of this month, which is right around the corner. I am going to be the queen of selling coffee and CBD products for the East Coast first off, and then worldwide.
Can we get
All
some
right,
like
I hear
claps?
that. Yeah, snapping, snapping.
Yes,
Good
amazing.
stuff.
So much, so many things. Amazing. Lauren, what do you do? I haven't. First of all, everyone, I haven't seen. I don't know last time I've seen Lauren. This is a really really great friend of mine. We went to high school with each other. Same with Khadejah as well. I've known them for a long time and just kind of following their journey as not only as mothers but just as just individuals. So I just wanted to put that out there before we actually start. So
Jaquan and I go back way back.
way back, Mohawk
Like,
days.
yeah, yeah. Hey, kid. Okay. Um, but I have a small business with t-shirts and custom gifts. I have 4 children. Um, I was told at 12 years old I was never going, or 15, I was never going to have kids, and so here we are. However many years later, and there's 4 happy, smart, friendly, loving, caring kids that.
Amazing.
And when I met my husband, we basically had the same visions, and that's what we're doing right now is just growing our brand and revamping for the new year. So
Amazing, amazing, amazing. That's all I can say. I'm so proud of you.
I love you. I love you
love you
so
too.
much, man.
David, what do you do? Oh well, David is someone else. It's a new journey. We actually attend school together too.
Yeah,
Here at FTCC. So I just
FTCC.
want to throw that out there because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna see you tomorrow at school. But
Yeah.
we're gonna go ahead and get you to do your introduction.
All right. Well, I'm David. Full name David Estrada Torrecilla, as you can see on display. I'm currently 18 years old, fresh out of high school. Um, I'm part-time student well, full-time student, matter of fact, not part-time. Um, I I I do some services on the weekends. Like for example, the way I make income while I'm studying is through DoorDash. So I dash during the weekends. I also I also run 2 pages on Instagram. One of them is a motivational page called Motivate Official. That's that's the app. And then I also have another page called DET Creatives, where it's the page I make content on, and specifically like sport content, specifically soccer content. Currently, I only got 2 videos in there, and then currently I took some time off Motivate just to restructure the values and restructure the way I'll do things for the next few months, next few years. And yeah, that's a quick recap about my current situation, my current life right now.
Dope, bro. Dope. Definitely. I've been checking out some of the stuff you did have. Definitely amazing. Khadejah, can you tell people about the amazing thing that you do that I already know of, but it's just so it's dope. But can you tell the people?
Hi, everyone. Well, thank you so much for inviting me to be here. It's already been such a great experience hearing everyone's answer. So my name is Khadejah. As I said earlier, I'm a wife, mother of three, two girls, one boy. We reside in Warner Robins, Georgia. Okay, Leslie, I think we're a team, two girls, one boy as well. I am owner of a virtual assistant agency where we serve online coaches who are passionate about just breaking generational curses for their audience. And I also run a education platform where I teach other moms how to start their own virtual assistant business. So that's what keeps me busy.
Dope, dope.
All right, so yeah, guys, I'm Deion Washington. I am a stand-up comedian / minister. So yeah,
Dope. I didn't know that. I didn't know the minister part. That's
no,
dope.
you know what? I just got my minister license last night.
Seriously?
Seriously, like last night, like Sunday.
Wow, that's dope. That's dope. You're not pulling my leg, are you?
No, I'm dead serious. Like I literally
Because
just like
a comedian tell you something, you have to definitely double check. Like, are you really? But you really are. You really got your license?
Yeah, I got my license in last night. Went through the whole ordination service. It was awesome.
That's dope. That's dope. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
But I just wanted to just bring just different, like I said, different diverse people up here because majority of all of us are either starting our journeys, as in David, who's just recently got out of high school, or a lot of us are seasoned in our fields, i.e. Khadejah, Leslie, and Lauran. So I really wanted us to kind of just talk a little bit about it. Of course, most of you guys know my name is Jaquan Grant, artist name Jaquan Grant. Been doing music for almost 12 years now. Yeah, I own a few businesses, created a few apps. I'm a dad of two. I have an amazing fiance who's definitely been there from the beginning, just supporting me in everything I do. I think when it comes to dating a musician, it's very different, especially when you are a mom and you have children to take care of. Because it's like, okay, sweetie, we got to make sure that there are meal plans and things like that. But also, I have to get ready for this tour, so I don't want to leave. But it's like just basically trying to create that balance, and I think when you have a partner, as and Lauran just said, as far as trying to help build a brand and you guys are on the same accord, I think it makes it so much better when they understand and they believe what you're actually trying to do. And I think it just makes it a little bit more simpler and easier. Like recently, I just came from Richmond and Raleigh like 2 days ago. Been driving for 10 hours, and just knowing that I have someone home taking care of the children, I know I don't have to come home to something crazy, and it's loving when I come home like, we miss you, dad, and it just makes it a little bit more better for me. So definitely I agree as far as just having that partner on your side. It just makes things a little bit more easier because I'm pretty sure a lot of us know when you are an entrepreneur, it's very stressful. It's a lot, a lot going to it. So you have to definitely be, a strong individual, and also it helps to have that strong support system, which goes back into family. First of all, let me talk a little bit why I wanted to have this discussion, this conversation. So most of you guys know I am a music artist. I've been doing music for a long time. I'm also in the process of releasing this album that's coming out in February. So I had a good talk with a great friend of mine because the album is centered around my last name, which is Grant, my actual legal last name, Grant. And I wanted to, and we just started talking a little bit about last names and the importance of last name, and then of course family. I'm like very, very family oriented. So a lot of my stuff, even so, Grant itself is a sequel to a first album that I had that released 3 years ago. And on that cover art, it was a picture of my daughter. She was like 2 years old at the time, and she was kind of like squatting, and it was just amazing photo. And I didn't even take it.
It was a good picture.
Yeah, she my fiance, she actually took a picture of it, and it was like, whoa, like what? And then she just showed it to me like, hey, like check out this picture of Callie. Like I just caught her off guard, and I'm like, yes, I'm using that for an album cover. I'm definitely putting this out. So just kind of following that tradition. My son, so now I have my son. He just recently turned 3, but before his his third birthday, I was like, I have to get him in an actual photo shoot. We got to take a bunch of pictures of him against his will, and then I'm gonna take these photos and then put it on this album. So literally the whole album, like I said, is centered around it's just a family oriented type of album. And of course you have records of things that I've actually been through and things of that nature, but I wanted to keep it, I guess, in that discussion as far as the last name and really what that means to me. So just thinking about possibly bringing on, other individuals and just kind of talking about it. And I know from my standpoint, growing up, a last name that meant a lot. That was kind of like this. It was almost like a rite of passage if you had a specific last name, right? So for me, growing up in the streets of Virginia, it was definitely something that was very important. And then it connected me to family too because I'm originally from Waterbury, Connecticut. So coming to Virginia and my mom, like in Connecticut, is like everyone on my dad's side whose last name is McDaniel. So coming to Virginia, she was just like, now you're going to meet everyone whose last name is Grant. Like, it's going to
Oh.
be like this crazy thing. So it was just like, yeah, I'm a Grant. I'm a Grant. It was just like coming out of nowhere. And it was like going to a family reunion and like everybody had this last name. I'm like, whoa. But it was a cool thing, growing up as a kid. So I really wanted to have a discussion where we can talk a little bit about that, talk a little bit about our families, but also talk about why a lot of us, because some people it's not as important, they it's just kind of something that's there. It's not really don't really have any meaning to it. So just kind of touch bases on multiple standpoints, multiple viewpoints of it, and just see where we can go from there. Like I said, I think I put it in the message when I was messaging you guys. I was like, the goal was to also try to make sure the group was diverse as possible. Just because I know in different, backgrounds, cultures, um it's different. It's a very, very different thing. So that was really the goal. So without any further ado, that was kind of my little introduction. So lineage, I kind of had to go to Google. I didn't know exactly what lineage mean, so I went to Google and got the answers. So lineage, a lineal descent from an ancestor or ancestry or pedigree. So let's start the first question off. I'm gonna talk to Leslie. And the question applies to everyone. So I guess we can do it in order of Leslie, then Lauren, then we can go David, then Deion, then Khadejah, and then you guys can just answer it in the best way you guys can. So starting with you, Leslie, what does family mean to you?
Okay. What does family mean to me? I believe that it is a conjunction, a group of people that you are accepting, as well as they accept you for who you are, without any limits as to why you are considered that word family. Which of course you can't use the name in the definition, right? But
Yeah,
it's a group, a collective of people that you accept in your life, and they also accept you in theirs wholeheartedly, with no limits and no judgment.
thank you. That was an amazing answer. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
that. Lauren, what does family mean to you?
Um, Family has always kind of been kind of for me, one of those things that we didn't really talk about, simply because I was raised by my grandparents.
Okay.
My dad was in and out of prison, and he was just not around. So I didn't get his last name. I got my mom's, and her biological father was not around. So I had this last name in this family with all of this negative connotations. I often asked, why did my grandparents not adopt me? So I had their last name.
Mm,
But they always wanted to remain hopeful for my mother to, I guess, get herself together. And so
yeah,
with family, it's not ever a cut and dry mold. Whereas biologics may play into have a factor in it. For me, most of my family is people that I have welcomed, who have welcomed me unconditionally, who love me unconditionally, no matter who or what side of my family or what part of my cultures I choose to take in.
definitely, definitely. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for that. I definitely agree with that 100%. Thank you, David. What does family mean to you?
All right, so family can mean like two different things to me. First and foremost is the people who have your blood, you know, my uncle, my dad, my mom, grandparents. that would be like the more general definition of me, because I consider family in two ways, and that's way number one. And then the second way I would consider family. Family is someone, anybody that makes your life better and that you make life better for them. So basically like a duo or like a partnership or like a team play. And that's what I would consider family. And I would reference this to back to my high school days when I played soccer or when I played tennis. Those boys, they were my family. You know, we were in training together. We worked hard. We went through trials and tribulations as a team, so many doubts. And, we just developed that brotherhood, that family. And, that's just something that I take on with me whenever I consider someone my family. Like, anybody can become family as long as I'm making life better for you and you're making life better for me. And yeah, that would
Definitely.
be my definition.
Definitely. Thank you so much for that. I know Deion, you had hopped out, but and then I just brought you back in, so I know it kind of flipped. But we're gonna start with you.
Family means everything to me. Like what I'm saying. I really feel like Vin Diesel off of Fast and the Furious. Like family is everything. And that's all that really matters. Um, I honestly I don't think I'd be nothing without my family. I have a wife, two kids, one on the way. Um,
Oh, congrats.
and say that again.
I just said congrats.
Oh, thanks. I'm ready for him to get here.
Congrats, man.
So we're gonna try to start with Khadejah. So what does family mean to you?
Yes, for me, it's same as David. Family means someone who is a blood relative, someone that you have a commitment to, someone who you are there for, you love unconditionally, no matter what flaws they have, someone that you give grace to. Um, and then another definition for me is I really don't consider people who are blood, like you don't have to be blood for you to be family. If we went through seasons where I was there for you, you were there for me. You were there for me in the hard seasons, but vice versa. I definitely would consider you family. And then I think a lot of times when we consider someone family, we have to realize that people are flawed, so that there has to be understanding that people are not going to be perfect. But if you have great intentions with your heart, and if you are, repentful, and like I said, things aren't perfect. And if you truly believe that, you're going to try to better yourself, your family. So that's what family means to me. And I'm a wife. I have 3 kids. So one of my main missions in life is to really just create memories with my family, and just to leave a legacy within my family, not just to the world, but people who actually know me and interact with me every day.
Definitely. Thank you guys so much for that. Definitely gave me a better insight just on the term family, because just for me myself, I definitely agree a lot with all you guys, especially with what you were just saying, Khadijah, as far as just wanting to build memories. Like recently, I think back in April, I had the opportunity to go back to where I was actually born, which is Waterbury, Connecticut. I haven't been there in almost like 15 years or something like that. So I flew down there and I saw my dad. I haven't seen him in almost 15 or 10 plus years. So just having that conversation, just talking to him, just him seeing me as a young, a actual man now, and just kind of some of the things I've been able to accomplish in my life. It was amazing to have that conversation, but it definitely, family was kind of the topic of the discussion of everything we talked about. Because for me, I think the hardest thing was trying to, I think when you're not used to specific things growing up, like for myself, something that Lauren said as well, my father wasn't around for me growing up. So growing up for me, I envy that. I wanted to have a specific image of a family. Like I wanted, the mom, the dad, it was kind of something that I longed for, me and my brothers. And it was kind of something that as I grew up and I became a man, it was something that I truly cherished. So when I was able to have the opportunity to have children on my own, that was kind of it was like the of course the best moment of my life, but in the same, it was like, all right, I can try to do this better. I know some things that I wish would have happened to me. I wish my dad would have done for me. I know my children would never have to actually, worry about anything like that. So I know the biggest thing for myself was just growing up, even though I didn't have that father figure. I can honestly say my family was very, very, very still close. Like me, my brothers, and my mom, we always was together throughout whatever we was going through at the time, whether we're struggling, poverty, whatever the case may be. We actually still stayed together, and I think that was kind of the symbol. That was kind of the catalyst of what I wanted to do for myself and my family was, sticking together, figuring things out, but also just being there, being available, because those memories, whatever, those things you cannot change. You can't physically, as my children grow up, they're going to always think about those memories. And I think I try my best to always make sure that we can have those great memories, whether it's just, hey, let's go to the park, let's run around, let's get dirty, let's color, let's whatever the case may be. Like I'm like that dad that goes beyond. Like I will put on a actual tutu for my daughter and let's go have a tea party. Just those, it's just those small things to me. I feel like they mean so much than just me just providing them with, of course I'm gonna provide them whatever they need, but it's just me just giving them materialistic things. I just really want to just be around. So for me, family, it definitely means, and it don't have to necessarily be blood related, but it's just when you're going through things with people, you're creating those memories. um it just changed everything for the better. I guess that's my interpretation of it. I'm gonna start with the next questions. All right, starting with you again, Leslie. How close are you to your family?
Oh, that's a tricky one, eh? So, with I will do like a brief rundown. So, biological father is not in the picture currently unless he needs something, which is I had to make peace with that, right?
Yeah,
Due to things that happened in my childhood, I faced him and I was like, "Hey, I know what happened and I forgive you, but now you got to accept it so you could forgive yourself."
definitely.
I don't reach out to him. I know I could probably do better, but I know that if he ever needs anything based off of me forgiving him, the door is always there for him to, reach out to. And my family knows that. And they're like, how, how do you do it? And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, that's my dad. If it wasn't for my mom and my dad having a freaky night long time ago, I wouldn't be here, right? So, I got to be thankful for that. I
Yeah,
have a stepdad. I don't call him a stepdad. I call him dad because he's just been there ever since, I can remember. And he's a great dad. My mom, she's amazing. I have two siblings. They're younger than me. I have a brother that's currently living with my mom. They work together. They have a company together. And then I have another brother. He's serving life in prison. He's down 10 years now. And I just want to say, I know my aunts on my mom's side. I don't know much of my dad's side of the family. Um, but I know my cousins on my mom's side, and when you link up with cousins, even if you
it's
haven't seen them
different.
in so long, y'all know what's up. It clicks, you have to
Yeah,
feel good automatically.
yeah,
But yeah, I'm close to my family. The part that I do know, and I'm eager to travel and seek. At some point when we get to adulthood, we got to stop saying, "Man, we weren't around my family." We got to pick up that baton and be like, "I'm grown enough so I could go ahead and make my own decisions." I'm going to put in the effort to know my family, whether they're receptive or not. Then I'm able to maneuver around that however I have to, but I'm taking that on. I want to know my dad's side of the family. I want to know where I come from that end, But I'm very close to the people that I do know in my bloodline. Yeah, and it's all love, I'm a lover, not a fighter. Um but yeah, and then people that are non-blooded, man, like people I've been out on my own since 16, and people that have just taken me under their wing. And now with children, they continue to take me under their wing and,
definitely.
pour in me, mentor me and my children. It's all love. It's all love. It's a give and take, I
Yeah, yeah,
give, I take, and it's mutual. And yeah,
definitely.
I'm tight with my peeps, even the ones that have done me wrong.
It takes growth. It takes growth. It definitely does. Lauren, how close are you to your family?
In the way of family, I really don't have a lot of family left that I know. Um, Essentially, once my grandmother passed away a month before I delivered my oldest, um, the only mother that I really had growing up, I lost a lot of my family, because I chose one of the last conversations that my grandmother and I had. She just told me, that is your mother and you're going to need her. And so we worked through our differences and I accepted her, but my family did not accept that I accepted her. And there was an ultimatum. Um, and so I just told myself, I'm better than this. I'm better than the negativity and the ruined holidays and my kids deserve better than that. They don't deserve to have to watch me go through a love that's unconditional or that's not unconditional, sorry. Um, but my mother and I now are closer than ever. Actually, I'm waiting on a phone call from her now because her dad is in ICU at Chapel Hill. Um, he had a massive heart attack yesterday, and my husband's grandfather had two as well yesterday. I'm closer to my in-laws. My mom's stepdad is really the only family that I have outside of my mom and a brother and a sister or two sisters. But my other sister, she's just on her own journey, and I have to accept that. And as far as my dad, I mean, I was scared to date in high school because I honestly don't know everybody that I'm related to. Jaquan and Khadijah could tell you. I mean, we are from a small area, and everybody knows everybody, and I mean, it is completely and totally bonkers. You wouldn't believe the different relationships that I have had that have had some sort of familial ties to my father's family, and they know more about my family than I do. And so, I've come to accept that, and like I always tell my kids, you can't force somebody to love you, but you can forgive them. That does not mean you have to forget, but you can love from a distance, and that's just where we choose to be with our family. We have our close friends who are family. I mean, I see Jaquan as a brother, and I mean, I see so many of my friends who were there through the thick of it as family, and that's okay with me.
Definitely, I agree. I want to first and say that I am definitely. I know I'm pretty sure everyone up here we're definitely praying that everything is okay. And
Appreciate that.
just
It's been
this,
crazy.
I can tell. You already know the love is there.
I
I love you, and I hope everything, like I say, is great and turns out well. I'm not gonna say hope. Everything is gonna be great. Everything is gonna be
I
well. Okay.
believe it will. I believe it will. I just it's just a lot all at once the week of
Yes.
Thanksgiving that
Yeah.
we're supposed to be,
Together. Correct. Correct.
together. And
It's a lot, but like I said, we are all praying for you. S-
appreciate you. Appreciate
of
you.
course, David. How close are you to your family?
Well, physically to my entire family, I'm not that close, but on an emotional level, yeah. So, I'm close to my parents. I'm close to my only sibling, which is my sister. Even though physically we're not together all the time, like for example, my mom has her own business, my dad works basically all day, so he can move the family forward along with every single one of us. My sister, um, she just finished her last year of college, and actually today, matter of fact, was her first day as a teacher.
Oh
So
wow.
and yeah, and me, well, I'm a full-time student and also try to make some income. So on a physical level, we're not really that close, but on an emotional level, we understand the duties and the responsibilities and all the intentions that we have to push this family forward. And yeah, that's where I get we're not so close on the physical, but we're really close on an emotional level. And the same
Emotionally.
thing can be said with um with my uncles, my aunts, grandparents. I never met my grandparents in my life since I'm a son of immigrants. My parents came from Mexico. My sister is also an immigrant, and I was the only U.S. citizen that came out of that bloodline. And to me, it's a privilege, but it's also a massive responsibility where at times I feel pressure, but self-imposed pressure because my people don't put pressure on me at all to just like do something massive or do something great as a way of continuing the last name, which is Estrada Torrecilla, because I understand how difficult it was for my parents to cross that border. I remember my mom telling me that whenever she crossed with my sister, there was a group of narcos that stopped them along the way and they took everything from. But luckily, my mom thought of something that was fairly genius to put the money that they were going to use in America in my sister's diaper. And just knowing all the things that they went through, and just makes me just gives me that sense of responsibility or that sense of motivation to you know bring something great to the table. And I know I went a little off topic
No, no,
of the
you're
family
great. You're
thing,
great.
yeah, but yeah. So on a physical level, we're not that close, but on an emotional level, we are, and that just and the emotional level overrides the physical in some sort, because whenever we meet each other, of course, we have our differences at times, we have our discussions, but at the most or at the end of the day, we'll always have that hug as a
Yeah.
family.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. Thank you so much for that, man. And I think before we even start with Khadijah, I think the beauty of what you just said, as far as just no matter what, everyone is trying to move forward together, regardless if you guys are actually physically together every single day. I can definitely, vouch and say that's kind of similar to my situation. I'm constantly trying to do certain things. I'm constantly on the move in different locations, different states. And I understand that sometimes it can be looked at as, you're not there as much, but emotionally, I am there. Like, end of the day, regardless of whatever I'm doing, that's the first thing that's on my mind. Is like, okay, making sure my babies are okay. Making sure my family is okay. That's just how I am. So I can definitely agree as far as not physically being around, but that love is still actually there. So yeah, thank you a lot for that, David. Khadijah, how close are you to your family?
I am really close to my family. On my dad's side, um, and I'm close with my sister. We talk almost every day. So I will say that one thing I've learned about being close to family is that it takes work, just like any other relationship takes work. You have to constantly check up on people. One of the things I was pretty convicted about is, we generally, like a lot of people who may not interact with us on a daily basis, they may think, we're great people, da da da, but it's like, okay, are you just like how you try to help people, just how like you try to be a superstar at your job, are you matching that energy towards your family? Like, what does your husband say about you? What does your mother-in-law say about you? And so I try to make sure that I'm even kind and patient with people, even like inside their family. Just because they're family doesn't mean that we need to have like less patience with them or take their respect for granted or whatever. So yes, I am close like with my dad's side, with my aunt, but it takes work. And like, you know, definitely there's been like times where we've had to have like hard conversations or conversations about boundaries. But even conversations about like, because in some families, especially with people of color, they think that they can just say anything to you and it's just going to be okay. But just having those conversations about like, okay, well, that's, it's not appropriate for me to talk to me like that. And so but yes, overall I would say that definitely close to family, and just working on one of my goals for 2022 is just to build like a better community, and just really be intentional about reaching out, weekly, monthly, sending pictures. We got to get back to sending like hard copy pictures, not just posting something on Facebook, or not just looking on Facebook to just, oh, I haven't heard from so and so, but they look okay because I saw them. But like, no, actually call them and check on them. Just like Leslie was saying earlier, like we are the new aunties and uncles, like we have to organize events and, take initiative to fly out or drive out. And we can say that we're busy, we have a lot of kids, but they had it harder back in the day. Like they had it way harder and they got together way more. So there's really no excuse.
Definitely, I agree. I know growing up for me, I feel like every summer it was like a family reunion that I went to, and I feel like by the time I was like 12 or 13, it just stopped happening. And I know sometimes, like whoever is like the kind of like the person who's hosting it or curating it, I guess I'm saying that word correct, who's putting it together, the head of it, if they pass, like in my situation, my grandfather's brother, well, my grandmother's brother, he was kind of the person who was bringing everyone together to Virginia, because my family on my dad's side, they're in Connecticut, and then my family on my mom's side is in Virginia. So on my mom's side, I'm going to family reunions, but I was so, I guess, more comfortable going to the ones on my dad's side. I don't know why. But then like by the time I was a teenager, it just stopped basically happening. And then you stop seeing people. So that's what I was saying as far as myself seeing my dad. Well, even though he wasn't the person that was taking any initiative that was really solely on me, I'm used to potentially seeing some of them, at least a few times throughout the year. And it was just different. And then I was moving, like I moved when I was 13, 14 to a town that I never even knew existed. It was like I'm in Virginia, in this city, and then my mom was just like, we're going to Lombard, North Carolina. And I'm like, what is this? Like this, I've never in my life heard of a place like this. And then she takes us. And then of course, for me now, it's like I'm not even around family, everybody is scattered everywhere. Virginia, North Carolina, Connecticut. And it's just like, wow, how do we get in touch? And then when you are a teenager, of course, it's not on my shoulders. I want to see people, but I don't have income or things of that nature. But just like Khadejah and Leslie said, when you become an adult, it's like it's time for you to move. And I think for me, sometimes, for anybody, I guess sometimes it takes something drastic to happen for you to be like, wow, I need to pick the phone up. Wow, I need to call. I was definitely that was something that was for me. I was overseas. I was 19 years old, and I was in South Korea, and I got a phone call that my cousin, who was basically like my brother, he passed away. His name was Tavares, T Hall, and it was kind of like, wow, like now I felt like my family was starting to like almost kind of like disintegrate. Like everybody was starting to move different places. And then for me, I'm trying to get back home. But being in the army, it was just like, you can't go down here. Like, well, you can't leave until we tell you to leave. So I definitely had went through major depression, had suicidal thoughts. It was a really dark time for me. And I feel like I needed family. Like I needed to be around my people. So of course, when I was able to eventually, I went to the funeral and everything. It was great to be with that support system. But when I got out, that was kind of the mission. It was just like, all right, starting to travel more, starting to connect with people more, things of that nature. And then it took really the pandemic as well, like I said, be drastic things. And it's like, man, I need to call. The pandemic happened, and then it was like, okay, I have to pick up the phone. I have $400 or $500. I know I have a lot in savings. I'm okay. I can take this and get on a flight and fly, to Connecticut or fly to wherever and just be around. It was amazing coming down there, seeing my grandfather, seeing my grandmother, and then also having that conversation with my dad, just to kind of touch on me being close to my family. Like, I'm very, very close to my mom and my brothers. But when it comes to my family on my dad's side, like I'm not that close to them. And it's because of those family reunions, because that's when we was around each other. So when I had the opportunity to go back home, it was almost like I haven't been here since I was like 6 or 7 years old. Me now being 28, it's like this is very, it's different. It's insane, but it's also like, it's like nostalgic. I just kept saying it the whole time. My grandfather's like, what do you mean? Like, you know this area. I'm like, no, I have no clue. It's been years. But just being able to have that conversation with my dad, that was the biggest thing, because we talked about being able to be close. I told him, for a man standpoint, I was like, listen, I understand that you wasn't there, and I understand things happen between you and my mom, but I want you to know you still have a chance, because now you have grandchildren, right? You may not, I'm not telling you to come outside with me and pick up a mitt, and we play catch, and we talk about the birds and the bees. Is like, or change the tire. Like, these things are already over. I know how to do these things, myself. However, you do have grandchildren, and you can definitely talk to them, and just show up and just be around.
Yeah, while we worked for Kwani, one of the questions we were talking about is kind of like, and I think you already answered this, what family means to you, but we were going around sharing how close we are with our family. So if you want to share that, we can do that while we wait for Kwani to come back on.
I'm super close with my immediate family. My mom, I'm technically a mama's boy, so that woman is everything to me. My kids, I love them to death. I wouldn't be me without them. So like if you see me, you're gonna usually see my son or my daughter with me. And hopefully when this new one gets here sometime this week, that he be on me on my hip just as much. Let's see. From my other family, not so close. But technically I didn't really grow up without them. So I grew up without them. So it was just like I'm a military child. So like I was so far away from my extended family and I was close with my immediate. So I think that just kind of stayed with me. But I am now reaching out, going to like random family reunions, finding out my friends that I've been friends with for years, or my cousins. Yes, I'm in a weird space with family right now. But I love it though. I don't know. It just seems like family. The more you get to know about who you're around, like who has that same bloodline as you, like you get to learn a lot about yourself and like just that type of thing. Jaquan's back.
Hey, sorry, you guys. I think so. What happened on my end before I started this stream? Sometimes I get these notifications on my Mac that say, "Hey, do you want to restart your computer?" And I normally say, "No, get out of here." But I guess I put later. So as I was talking, it's tried to restart, and I was trying to stop it, and it just started to restart. I couldn't do anything. I'm sorry. Let me go ahead and apologize first. But thank you guys so much for keeping it going because I was still able to watch it from our phone. So you guys are doing an amazing job. Thank you guys so much. Hear all your questions, Deion. I'm hear all your answers, Deion. Sorry for cutting you off. I know you was just in the middle. First thing I think you said something was about family, Fast and the Furious, Vin Diesel. So I was just trying to get up here, hear that. But keep it going, or we can start with the next question.
I think I answered most of it. I think they can get the show rolling. I'm here now. Yeah,
we're here now. Thank you guys so much. Now we're actually starting the actual stream. No, okay. So, thank you guys again for being up here. We're gonna keep this thing going. Starting back with Leslie. The next question. What are some things that your family instilled in you when you were young that you try to teach to your children?
Okay, so to answer that, actually, there are things that growing up I have learned to do and not to do as a parent. So it's not all good, but I have been able to accept even the bad and turned it into something good as to deciding that I will not continue that. I do want to highlight also that I am a first generation offspring of immigrants. My parents are immigrants from Mexico, representing. So shout out to David as well. A big responsibility falls on our shoulder, especially the oldest one. Being the oldest one, and it's not easy. So from learning Spanish being the first language and learning English myself, teaching myself at a young age, and then helping my mom learn, and then helping my siblings, um, and having to translate everywhere I go, and having to do everything that a fifth grader or 5-year-old or 6-year-old shouldn't be doing. I had to take on all that responsibility at a young age, and I feel like that has helped me as a mom. So I push my children because I know that they could do better, but I don't push them to the point where they're kids and they shouldn't be holding certain amount of responsibility that is supposed to be mine. And I don't blame my parents. I understand that they came here to give us a better opportunity. So it's just one of those situations where life is interesting and you have to take the good and the bad and just morph it into something that works for you, whatever that looks like. Some of the things that also I'd like to pass down the good things that I'd like to pass down to my children are being loving. My mom was always loving. She always told me, don't fight over food, regardless if it's your real family or friends or neighbors. Don't fight over food. So now, my thing is, I usually don't talk about it. If I see someone that needs food, I just like give them food, however I can help. I teach my children to have a strong bond with their siblings. At the end of the day, our parents are getting older, we're getting older, and they will pass away. And even when we don't have parents, a lot of my friends don't have parents that they can rely on or have to lean on, right? Um, we have our siblings. So those sibling ties, they help us as well in our business ties, in our day-to-day ties. Um, yeah, they just help. It teaches us how to be good team member in life. Um I have boys, so it's pretty easy. I'm like a boy mom. So being loving, hardworking, pushing yourself but not too much. I think that that's what I'm going to stick to. Yeah.
Dope, dope, amazing. All right, Lauren, what are some things that your family has instilled in you when you were young that you try to teach to your children?
When I graduated from high school, my nana, which is my grandmother, made me a scrapbook um, with letters from teachers throughout my school years. And in that, she wrote a list of different rules to be followed. She was a kindergarten teacher for 29 years, so she loved the easy stuff. And so our biggest rule in our house is just to treat everybody like you want to be treated. And there is no double standard, you know. My prime example, my 5-year-old got upset because she got electronics taken away earlier today because she refused to do her schoolwork, but her brother was able to get on the computer. And we had to sit down and explain, while you may not like what's going on right now, this is a consequence. And you can't treat your brother less than human because you don't like the fact that he's got electronics and you don't. And I don't I don't want my kids to ever, because then that follows in with one of my nana's other sayings. If it's worth doing, it's worth doing right. And so and if you can't get it, try and try again, because practice makes perfect. And I've got a boy and 3 girls, and that's all I can ask from them. There's already too many hard society pressures that they feel already so young to be pressured in. So we really kind of have more of an old school, old world but mixed with new world as well, where, they know that they can come to us for anything because my husband and I did not have that growing up.
Definitely, definitely. I can agree. I can definitely agree, especially having a 5-year-old myself. It's really my 3-year-old. He's like
Those
thi-
3-year-olds are savages.
this young man is like, I think I'm the dad of the house right now, so I'm gonna make the rules, and it's like, no, I don't think that's gonna go that way. And it
Yeah.
can be challenging. It can definitely be challenging.
Yeah, the 2-year-old told me earlier this morning I was the baby and she was the mama, so I needed to go
Yeah.
back to bed. No, honey. No.
It definitely can be like that. And sometimes, like for me, I laugh because like it's almost like seeing yourself in a mirror, because I know certain things I was not able to get away with growing up because my mom did not play. Um, but I know it's some things that I've seen my son or my daughter they try to do. And before I react, I immediately was just kind of laugh because I'm like, wow, like I was the same way. Like my son is like very, very sneaky. I was like really sneaky growing up. So he'll do little things in the house and not think that I know. And then I'll be like, did you do this? And he'll be like, just looking around. I'm like, yeah, it was you. He was just like, I'm sneaky, Anna. I'm like, yeah, you're very you're very sneaky. You're just like me. But it's funny, but you definitely have to just sit them down and try to have those conversations because growing up, like I don't know if anybody else can kind of speak from this standpoint. Yeah, it was a lot of it wasn't really a lot of sitting down having conversations when things went wrong. It was a lot of hands and belts and things of that nature. It was just like wasn't able to even talk a little bit about so what happened. It was just like just straight to action. So and then I feel like for myself, you learn from certain things and then you say, okay, I'm not going to do certain things that way. So I'll talk a little bit
Right.
about mines. I'm not going to jump because I definitely just took over Deion's time, sorry. But to ask the same question to you, because I know you are a father, what are some things that your family instilled in you that you are trying to when you were young that you're trying to teach to your children?
So I just want to start off saying I'm glad that my child is not the only gangster in the world. I be feeling like my kids be too gangster for me. Like, who's you talking to? But some things I want to instill in my children. Lying sucks. Don't lie. Jesus. You end up getting yourself in worse trouble if you lie to me. Like, if you tell me you did this, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not like my mom. Like, I'm not like my dad. Like, I'm not just going real fast. Like, you're not gonna get the phantom smack instantly. You know what I'm saying? You might still get it, but it's not gonna be like, you know what I'm saying? It's not gonna be as bad as if I catch you in a lie. Another thing, protect each other. Like I have a daughter right now, and I have an older daughter. She's 6, and then I have my son who is 1, and I'm trying to get her to teach her how to protect her little brother because I know eventually, like right now, she's the big one, but he's gonna be older. He's gonna get older. He's gonna be the one protecting you in the future. So I want to try to establish like that friendship in the family. Like I want that close knit. Like take care of him. He gonna take care of you. And also like so I guess I definitely want to establish the friendship. I have an older brother, and me and him are super close, but my family made sure we were close. Even though he beat the brakes off me most of the time, because them older brothers can give it to you, but it was that's my dog for real to this day. And then I guess try to and this is gonna sound so bad, but like really listen to like I really want to instill like my mom instilled me to listen to her because like she's not gonna steer me in the wrong direction. And she never has, never, I believe she never will. Like she still gives me these gives me like gems and wisdom to this day. And so I don't in that I used to tell her everything. Like I remember like when I lost my virginity, I was like, Mama, I lost it. And she was like, well, baby, hold up, let me talk about it. But she gave me gems on like, not like how to go forth about this, like with safe sex and like don't be doing this all the time. Like don't go crazy with a whole bunch of women, like it's like being that open and transparent with your like I definitely want that transparency because I got a daughter and you know how daddies is about they please let me know if any boy likes you, any type of thing.
I agree.
So I can go ahead and warn you.
I agree. I definitely like my daughter. She just started school, and I know. I think like the second day of school. I come home from working and stuff, and my fiance, her name is Jasmine. She's like, I have to tell you something. And I'm like, tell me what? Like something happened with Callie at school. So I'm immediately like, she okay? You know what's going on? And she's like, oh no, nothing like that. You want to tell dad? And she's kind of like nervous, and I'm already just looking like, hold on, what's going on? Like, why are you nervous? Like, what happened? And I believe, and I know she's watching right now. I believe some little boy was just he said something about marriage or something like that, like marrying you or something like that. So for me, I immediately was just like, Yeah, I think it's time for me to go up to this school right this instant. I think it's what's his name? But then I also know it's like children, they only do and say stuff that they've seen, that they've been around, that they're experienced. So, I let that slide. But I know definitely being a dad, when I talk to my daughter, like every single day, she tells me about her day. And I'm like, who do you play with outside today? And she'll say, oh, I was playing with this young boy named Dante or something like that. I'm like, you was playing with who? And his name sounds too smooth. It's like Dante Holiday or something like that. I'm like, yo, you're not gonna no none of that. Let's
Yo.
let's remove this. But I know she's my daughter, she's just like carefree, she's happy. And
Yeah.
she really loves to play. Her biggest thing is just friends, just being around other kids, just having that social, but definitely being a dad, hearing those conversations is like
Bro. Yo, I'm gonna tell you this one story, and I'm hurt. Like, I'm still like, I cried. Like, so she gets off the bus, and she sees this little boy, and the little boy like waves at her, like, bye. They're like, bye. And as soon as the boy turns around, my daughter just faints. She's just like, and I'm sitting there like, get up. Yeah. So I come in there, and she come in the car. I'm like, who was that? She was like, he's so handsome, Daddy. He's so handsome. I'm just like, not right now.
It started.
Stop that voice right now.
You got to be homeschooled
For the rest of your life until you're 18. I'm your teacher and I'm your friend. But yeah,
right.
it definitely be like that.
Oh, but it still goes on and when you homeschool too, because we're doing the virtual learning. And there
Oh
was
yeah. Oh my
because honey,
God.
one of the little boys on Piper's, she's my 5-year-old. They were in their little breakout rooms, and he was. Now, what do you like to do on the weekends?
Oh,
Hold on. Can we go back to the big group?
Definitely, yeah. So yeah, that's definitely kind of like something I'm not trying to think about, but I know one day it's gonna have to happen. It's like a rite of passage type of thing, but it's like I'm not trying to think about it just yet. David, I know you're the only person up. I know you don't have any children. At least I don't think you have any children, right? Correct?
Nah, I don't.
Okay, so this question is going to be a little bit different. The same thing, but so what are some things that your family have instilled in you that you will pass on if you decide to have children one day?
Well, yeah. Whenever I saw the question, I mean, I already knew. I'm like, I can just take it into the interpretation that what did my family instill in me that I can instill in my children one day. So that's how I was gonna approach the question. And one thing I'm gonna take from my family that I'm for sure pass it on to my children is the idea of putting God first over anything. And whenever I was younger and for a really long time, I didn't really understand what they meant by that, because when I was younger, I just viewed God and all this stuff as like, oh, pray, read the Bible, and stuff like that. And I didn't really get that discovery until seeked, like, I read the Bible myself and I seek the Word myself. And the understanding I got about seeking God first is basically following the purpose He has for your life. So in a matter of like, hey, I'm gifted at this, I'm gifted at that, or I'm gifted at that. That's probably something God instilled in me to fulfill a purpose. And me doing that means that I'm putting God first because I'm putting His purpose for my life first. And once I discovered that, like, I was like, spot on. And I'm like, this is something I really want to do. And I'm really motivated to do. And it's definitely something I'm going to pass on to my kids one day.
Definitely. Thank you for that, bro. Khadejah, mom of the year. No. So what are some things that your family instilled in you when you were young that you try to teach to your children?
Definitely love. I think Leslie mentioned that earlier. Being loving and just calling to check up on others. I just remember my aunts being so loving, non-judgmental, and just really family oriented. So I try to definitely teach my kids love. I try to teach them the power of um, prayer, and that's, my little one, she's 2. So she's just memorizing prayers now. And my 6-year-old, just having to memorize prayers and just like, if you want something, like ask God for it. And forgiveness, and then just try to make sure that what they see in the house, that they see me speaking to their dad nicely, they see me saying please and thank you. So I think that's the next question, but some of the things that I want to make sure they see is just me being respectful towards their dad, and just a healthy relationship throughout the home and to others.
Definitely. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I really think that's important. I feel like when we have, I know a lot of the stuff that for me growing up, it was a lot of good, but it was also a lot of bad. So for me, it was definitely just taking a lot of that bad and saying, "Hey, I'm not going to do these things whenever I have children." That was kind of like some of the biggest things. I seen a lot of stuff growing up that children shouldn't see. And as you become an adult, just like how Leslie and Khadejah was saying, as far as like now you have the ability to change. Now you have the ability to quote unquote break those generational curses. Like for myself, I wasn't taught about credit. I wasn't taught about anything, financial, no financial literacy, nothing like that. Wasn't taught about, this is the importance of even just home building, I mean home buying, just actually buying a home. Um just the things that we, I guess it just wasn't taught to her or taught to my dad. So my mom, she literally just like I was taught to go to school, to go to college and get a job. That was kind of the main thing my mom wanted us to do: stay in school, make sure we graduate high school, make sure we go to college, make sure we get a job, or in my case, in my oldest brother case, join the military. So she just really wanted us to have some type of stable job, and she felt like having a stable job was what benefits made the most sense. And it confused her when I was like, hey, I actually want to be a rapper. That's my dream, that's my goal. And definitely, early on, my mom never had once told me, no, you can't do anything. It was just, hey, I can't help you with certain things. I can't help you with that. You're going to have to figure that out. But it was always love. And there was definitely some times where I felt like I was alone in that space, and I wanted that guidance, just like how Deion was saying, as far as dropping those gems. But it was difficult, because I feel like in her standpoint, she didn't know anything. Her whole thing was work a job, get a job, and that's it. So when you start talking about anything entrepreneurship or business or credit or whatever the case may be, it's like speaking a foreign language. It's like, what are you talking about? Just make sure you go get that job. That's the thing. That 9 to 5 job. That was the key thing that was constantly put in us. And my mom, she used to call us dairy kids. I don't know if you guys ever seen that. It used to pop up on yeah, she used to call us that because we didn't want to do anything. We didn't want to go outside and do nonsense stuff, whatever was happening in our neighborhoods, we just didn't want to do it. And growing up, I still that was kind of one of the things that I instilled in myself, is just, I never was great at peer pressure. Like I just couldn't happen. Like people tried to, but it just was like, no, I don't want to do that. I was very strong willed in it. And that's something that I really want to teach my children, because I know my mom, she was very strong willed. She had to take care of 4 boys by herself. And make sure none of her boys, got into any gang violence, did any drugs, went to jail. Like none of my brothers got into anything like that. So, and for us to still be alive in this day and age, that's amazing. Being a mom, just taking care of these boys. So that was really definitely one of the things, and just keeping us together. That's really one of the things I want to teach to my children. Just like Deion was saying, as far as protecting each other. I definitely feel like I am my brother's keeper. So I definitely was trying to make sure I've been there. Like one of the craziest things that happened to me when I was younger, my little brother was actually shot accidentally. Somebody shot him in his stomach when he was 11 years old, and I was 13, and I was standing right next to him. And you have these 2 little kids, 11-year-old kid, 13-year-old kid. And my mom, she's at this job, we're outside. It's probably like 11 or 10 o'clock at night, 11-year-olds and 13-year-olds outside, just being around. And that was one of the time frames where definitely that dairy kid moment, it left. We wanted to be outside. It was like, let's go outside. Our cousins, our friends are outside. We went outside, and accidentally something happened, and he was shot. And that was very, very scary to me. You know, a 13-year-old kid, I'm holding my little brother and he's bleeding out on my stomach. It's like we're in a war zone type of thing. And what made it even worse was the places we was trying to get help from, people was closing the door in our face. Like, no, it was afraid. Um, so just stating to, like I was saying before, we've all experienced a lot of stuff, and I think my mom tried her best, but it was a lot of stuff that she definitely didn't teach me that I had to learn for myself. But I don't hold it against her. I was able to go get the information. Now it's up to me to provide it to my children. So I think the just to kind of nip it in the bud, the biggest thing is never giving up. I don't think my mom ever gave up, regardless of whatever situation we was going in. And I think that's one of the biggest things I got from her, and I want to make sure that my children got from her as well. Um, so yeah, that's my spiel. Next question. And I guess we already answered this question, so maybe I skip over it. The question was, can you be family with someone who is not your blood? I think all of us possibly will say yes to that. I think we all kind of touched on that early on. Definitely me being in the army, I feel like I met some people that I was very, very close with when I was overseas, and they weren't blood. But just like I think Khadejah was saying, you go through things with people, whether it's you're in a I know my fiance, she talked to me a lot about, as far as like her, she grew up with people when she was in college. You know, she came really, really close because of the things that they was experiencing at this university. So by the time they got out of college, it was like, these are my sisters almost. It's kind of the same thing for me, just not only the stuff that I experienced, like I say, in the military, also a lot of the stuff I experienced in the music industry, you know, just being able to acquire these relationships and these people that I call brothers. I can reach out to them and say, hey, I need your help. Like yesterday, I shot a video on Raleigh, called a guy I haven't seen in almost 8 years, like, hey, I need your help here. And it was like, I'm there for you. And we was able to get something done. So I think definitely we can all agree. Unless you guys want to touch more on that question, or I can just skip over it. You guys good? Okay, so starting with Leslie again with this next question. What do you want your legacy to be?
Well, I keep telling people that I am plotting for complete world domination.
I
So
love it.
so it's a little cliche when people say I didn't come from a wealthy family, but a wealthy family will come from me. So I've had pressure on me for a very long time. I don't mind adding a little bit more so I can make that happen for myself as well as my children. I am looking forward to, I'm in the process of branding my children, so they too can become successful in what they want to do. They have a backup, to just do whatever they want to do and get paid for it. They are gamers, and I think that if they could go to school and still pursue education, if that's what they want after high school, but still have a backup plan to do something that they enjoy doing after school, why not, right? But ultimately, my goal for my legacy is to become a multi-millionaire, have my children not only live off of me, but become millionaires as well. And continue to not just help my bloodline, but people around me and many other families that I hope to help along the way. Because along the way of my growing up, a lot of people looked out for me when I didn't have shit. So I think it's only right, when I start making that type of money, to give back to people, not that I just know of, but also people I don't know that need help.
Definitely. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. We definitely have the same similar mindset. Been saying that since day one. So just being, like I said, I think, and I said this earlier, I think Deion had came off. I said a lot of us, we're doing things in hopes just to not only help ourselves and our families, but other people as well. So thank you. Thank you so much for that, Leslie. Lauran, so what do you want your legacy to be?
I just want to my legacy is simply to be growing compassionate human beings. I mean, I feel like we have lost a lot of that in the world with the disconnect and discord of what's been going on the last year. Um, and I mean, if I do right by my kids, that's all I can ask. And as long as they know I can give them the means to help themselves along the way, I can't ask for any more. And to be able to be the role model for them that I would have loved to have as a child.
Definitely. And you definitely hit on something very, very important. I just wanted to touch back bases on it, but just basically being a better and a great human being, just being that. I think just like how you were just saying before, we definitely forget just the human essence, the human aspect of it. Whenever we talk about society and the things that's been happening, is always kind of this disconnect or this divide. And it's crazy when you look at it. It's like at the end of the day, we're literally the same thing, you know.
We're
But
all the same.
definitely. So it's thank you so much for that, Lauren. I definitely agree. And I definitely know that's something that I instill in myself, and it's something that I want to leave behind myself as well. So thank you for that. Dion, so what do you want your legacy to be?
Um, that's actually really interesting. So I want a lot of different. I like when I die, I want people to look at me like as a few things. I stayed faithful to my faith. Um, I stayed faithful to my wife. Um, a good father. A philanthropist. Like a person who definitely gives back to the community. Like I started my nonprofit, so comedians care. So it's like what I want to do is I want to try to bring like a lot of different comedians to give back to the communities that need it and people who need it, because I remember there were times that I needed it and I didn't have anywhere to pull from. I definitely, I want people to definitely know that boy loved God and he had a relationship with him for sure. But another thing is he was a funny, good comedian. Like I definitely want to be known as a good, great comedian, but I wanted to be a little bit deeper. Like I wanted to be like through my comedy, I want to teach. I want there to be lessons in me making you laugh. I want there to be lessons in it. So like as far as like when I do my comedy, I want you to know what a healthy marriage looks like. What a healthy relationship with your kids look like. The mistakes that come with it and things that you don't know. Like I want that to be know like he taught me things. He instilled certain things. I want to be the person to instill people. Like I want to like spark minds to do the right thing other than go down the path that I went down that my and my peers have. So
Thank you for that. Thank you so much for that. And for one, also just I want to give you some claps from the nonprofit, the comedian care. Um, that's amazing because I know when I talked to you, it was a lot of. I know we was kind of in and out after the performance, but I know it was so much more to you, man. And I'm just grateful, like I said, to actually have you up here because I know you also, just like I was saying, as far as like everyone else, is someone who's trying to be helpful, and I think that's the main thing that a lot of us need right now. Not only ourselves, but just the people that are in the world. You know, there's so much help that people need that a lot of people don't do that. They're in the position to help and they decide to not help. To me, that's just insane when we think about it. But thank you so much for just you and doing your part. Um, yeah, man, it's dope. It's dope. It's dope to hear
oh, trust me, I'm gonna talk to you after this. Trust me, I got some things to thank you about too, bro.
that. Definitely, bro. Let's do it. All right, David. David. So, what do you want your legacy to be about?
Well, I could put my legacy into an end game, which consists of basically being a problem solver. So in the matters of through the platforms or through the avenues that I create, they create solutions to problems of the everyday human. Like for example, just say so and so doesn't have the privilege to do this. I want to change that for him. Or so and so doesn't believe in himself like that. Or so and so thinks that he can't do this. And I also want to provide that type of avenue for him. So in my ideas, I have courses or even academies. Sharing the moral legacy I want to leave behind is this person did everything in his power to be able to provide solutions to problems of anybody. And the first step for me was starting, the motivational page, which is something I've really enjoyed, and I know I'll pause for it for a while just to readjust values, so I can go for a better approach, so I can help people in a more tangible way, because that's also like the main goal. Like, I want to be able to provide tangibles for people and not just an emotional uplift. I want to provide like tangible steps or a tangible solution toward whatever issues they face. And yeah, that's the legacy I want to leave behind.
Thanks. Thank you so much for that, bro. That's amazing. That's really dope, bro. I appreciate that. Khadijah, I don't know, she just popped off. I hope you can hear me. Um, okay, she's back and she got the baby. Hey.
Hey guys, husband peeked in and it was like, I've been doing this with all these distractions and the baby's up. So I'll answer this question, but this was awesome. So I'm sorry, what question were we on again? We were talking about
Yeah, what do you want your legacy to be?
oh, legacy. Okay, yes, absolutely. What Lauren said. I mean, I think, if I'm on my deathbed and, about to close my eyes, I would definitely want my legacy to be that she was, a daughter of the Most High, that she strived to love what God loves. And she made sure, one of my prayers just said, God, help me to love what you love and hate what you hate. And for my kids and my husband, just to see me as someone who, really strive to love them unconditionally, did my best. And, a lot of times as parents, we say that, oh, I did my best, but like, really do their best and to be intentional and just to, correct my mistakes and really live out what, what I say I'm going to do. And so that's all I can ask, is just for my husband to think that, he had a great wife, and for my children and grandchildren, and just to, love me and to pursue, obey God's commandments and all that He has for them. So
Thank
that is
you.
my answer.
Okay, so we're gonna bring it back with Leslie. What does your last name mean to you?
Okay, so I've been doing like the 1 and 2 for my answers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I started trying to search who I am last year, right? And I rebranded from Ramirez clothing line to House of Ramirez years ago, and I never really thought about it. I just wanted to, do what I'm doing now. And then last year, sitting at home and just kind of wondering, where do I come from? I was like, well, let me look this up. Ramirez is a very common last name. The colonizers did come and mingle with the indigenous. And in my family, there's a lot of fair skinned like me, but there's also dark skinned as well as not straight hair. It's hair that is thick, coarse, and it grows up. So I'm like, where do we come from? Where do I come from? Right. So I did some digging, and Ramirez actually derives from a name, Ramiro, in Spain. So I have Spaniard in me. And in the 1600s, there was such thing as, how in certain parts in Africa, they don't know, they don't consider anything else but your tribe and last name. So if your tribe and your father and your grandfather's tribe and last name hold weight because they're honorable people, just say I'm from the tribe of, and people are like, oh, you good people, you from that tribe. Okay. Well, back in the day in Spain, they used to have a thing called house of, and then the prominent male's last name. And Ramiro is the main name that came as what we know now and watered down Ramirez, which I don't think is watered down at all. But there was such thing as House of Ramiro in the 1600s. Ironically, now there is a House of Ramirez. And I feel like, when you listen to your compass in life, you pick up that baton that your ancestors started for you. And of course, I'm not out here dominating the indigenous and my kind, but I'm out here dominating the market the best way that I can for the people. And when I say for the people, I mean all types of people that need my help, right? So for me to kind of like pick that up, it kind of just gave me more of a power to keep doing what I'm doing, knowing that I'm on that path that I'm supposed to be on. And for me, what does my last name mean to me? What weight does it hold for me? It's everything, and not, I wouldn't say everything, but our last name means a lot. And of course, it got changed throughout the path and the course of history for many of us. But that's the one thing that we can hold on to and trace back. A lot of our ancestors have passed away, and a lot of our stories have not been told. But to me, it means everything. You have to be able to know who you are, where you come from, to know where you're going. So it means everything to me.
Thank you so much for that. It's amazing that you you actually went that far just to kind of get more information on the last name. I actually plan to do something like that towards the end of the actual segment. I actually Google all you guys' last name, and I found some interesting things about it. So you've already kind of like started the process just to talk a little bit about yours. So maybe I don't touch that much because you have so you've already done so much just on your last name. But thank you so much for that, Leslie. Lauran, so what does your last name mean to you?
Well, Ward is not my maiden name.
Exactly.
So we I was given my mother's last name. Um Simply because my father was absent throughout the pregnancy, and I just got my mother's last name. Um that part of the fields, because that's what I was prior, Fields. Um there are some good people that I know, but I don't know them well. And so when it came time for me to get married, my in-laws welcomed me with open arms. And as I had touched on previously, I was always questioning why my grandparents never adopted me to give me their name, because they were my mother and father in every sense of the word. And so I said, I'm going with Ward, which is my husband's last name, and I'm taking a name of the people who have welcomed me unconditionally. And so I chose to leave my maiden name, and so I'm just Lauran Ashley Ward.
Love it, love it. Thank you so much for that, Ash. Thank you. Deion, what does your last name mean to you?
Um. So, and I don't know too much about my last name, so I'm glad you said you know something because you could teach me. When I looked it up, all I heard is I got the blackest last name. It was like Washington is like the blackest last name you could have for all black people. I'm just like glad I can make my people proud. Do I know the origin of it? No. I know my granddaddy's name is Earl. But at the end of the day, I'm proud I got it. I gave it to my sons, my future son, my daughter. Even though that's most likely gonna change, but whatever. I'm gonna try to. I know there's a lot of famous people with my name, like of course, Denzel Washington. You know what I'm saying? Who I kind of look like. Not really. But I know
Kerry
the name
Washington?
has power. So
Oh yeah,
I'm
Kerry
definitely
Washington.
just gonna try to live up to it the best way I can and submit Deion Washington in the large name of Washingtons.
George Washington.
Right. The dude with wooden teeth. I tried.
There's a lot. There's a lot that I know. Lauran just
Washington
said
Carver.
Kerry Washington. Yeah.
See.
Washington Carver.
And
There's
then
a
there's
lot.
Booker T. Washington, which is
Oh
the
yeah.
The
Tuskegee.
peanut? No, who was the peanut? Was that the? No, that wasn't the peanut
No,
guy.
that's George Washington
Yeah,
Carver.
Washington
That's
Carver. Yeah.
George Carver. Okay, I
Yeah,
was
and
getting ready
then
to
Yeah.
say he has Washington in his name, doesn't he?
Booker T. Washington. There's a lot. So Who knows, man? Somebody maybe your uncle or your cousin out there. You never
Right.
know.
They need to cut a check then. Come holler at your cousin.
Denzel, definitely put me in a movie. David. So okay. So first of all, how do I pronounce your like? Because so do you have two last names or is that your actual middle name? Like how does?
Well, you see, both of them are my last names because I have
Okay.
Estrada. Estrada is my dad's side, and Torrecilla is my mother's side.
Okay.
So I have both of those last names in my full name.
Okay. So what
Yeah.
what does your last names mean to you?
Well, so Leslie was touching on the background on it, and I obviously didn't do much research on it, but what I know of is that the Estrada part is from Spanish descent. So in some way I come from a Spaniard descendant. And another thing, um, now that's pretty much it into the biological terms or the territorial terms. But to me, my last names have a meaning, not because of the last name is spelled or worded like the way it is, but by the way the people who have had that last name, what they've went through or what they've overcame. Like for example, my mother and my father crossing the border for a better life, going through those difficulties. That puts that last name into the spotlight, and that would be one of the reasons why that both last names mean a lot to me and give me a sense of responsibility and a sense of pride in some sort. And just like Leslie was talking about, that pressure, to do better because there's something very significant in the last name that we have to be aware of in order to like push forward and become the better versions of ourselves.
Definitely, definitely. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for that, David. I can definitely agree. I can definitely agree as far as that pressure that can be on you. Like I was thinking earlier before, coming to Virginia, knowing everyone had that last name, but it was weird because like in my family, you have like Grants, but you also have Halls, and it's crazy because they like my grandmother, my mom's mother, her last name was Hall, but my grandfather, his last name was Grant. And it was like my mom and my aunt, they took the last name Grant, which means their children took the last name Grant. But everyone else, my other aunties, my other uncles, they took the last name Hall. So it was really strange for me when I went to like family reunions and it was just like, you're not a Hall, get out of here. I'm like, I don't even know what that is. Like, I'm on a Grant side, but the whole time it's like, no, they're the same exact people. It's just, someone took it from the grandfather, someone took it from the grandmother. And then like I said on my dad's side, when I go to Connecticut, they're like, "You're not a Grant, you're a Mac. Like you're a McDaniel, like you're a Mac." I'm like, "What?" I'm like three things. What is going on? But yeah, so you get these from different sides of who you want to be. But definitely identify as a Grant. That's what I've been knowing my whole life. That's what I've been connected to. And I can definitely agree, like from my standpoint, seeing so many people in Virginia at the time, it was just like, man, it was so many people just popping out of it nowhere. Like I'm going to the bus stop, some guy hop out the car, hey, you're a Grant, ain't you? I'm like, random men, random people just saying, yeah, yeah, you're my cousin. And that was the weird thing. I had so many cousins. It was like you go to family reunions, it's like my mom, like, that's your cousin, that's your cousin, that's your uncle, that's your, and I'm like, I don't know none of these people. And then as you grow up, you see these people like, yeah, I used to change your diapers. I used to do such and such. We're Grants. I'm like, yeah, I don't remember you. Especially if I was 1 or 2 years old, I definitely don't remember you. But yeah, but it was definitely you felt a part of something. I felt like when I was going to certain places, and it was just like, and sometimes it was from a negative standpoint, but sometimes it was definitely positive. And what I mean negative, it was like you'll go to a party or you'll go to somewhere, they're like, hey, that's some Grant guys. Don't mess with them guys. Like there's something going on over there. And then you have from a positive standpoint, it's like, yeah, being one of the first, like for myself, being one of the first Grants to actually graduate from college, or being one of the first Grants to be successful in the music industry. Like it changes the landscape or the mind frame of people when it's like you're one of those first people, and it's like, wow, you're actually making Grants look well, or you making them look great. But yeah, I definitely can know the pressure that you can have, and you want to live up to it. you just want to just do the best that you can for that actual thing. So that's why even for me with my album that I was saying, wanted to have something where it's like grant 1, grant 2, grant 3, just because when people see it, even though it does get a little confusing because, like I said, my last name is Grant, but my artist name is Grand with a D. So sometimes people think my actual name is Jaquan Grand. I'm like, no, that's not my name. Like, that's my stage name. And they're like, well, who's Jaquan Grant? I'm like, that's me. Well, who's Jaquan Grant? That's me. Like, you get this weird thing sometimes, but yeah, definitely, I am Jaquan Grant. But when it comes to music, is a different standpoint. But yeah, so I guess Leslie, you definitely answered this next question. You guys can chime in if you want to. It's a little long before we get to the last final two. The question was last names in the medieval age for nobles and royalty. They determine your station in life and in society. It provided automatic societal advantages for your family that might otherwise be unattainable. Do you think this is still the case in this day and age, where it's like having a specific last name can get you things, or it make you look, I don't know, better than other people? Not even better than other people. It just makes you have some level of like status. I see it when you talk about the Trumps, is like, or you talk about the Kardashians or whatever the case. Like, to me, when certain people have last names, I know definitely it you can see kind of like a different like landscape. Or even we talk about families, right? The Rothschilds or the Rockefellers or whatever the case may be. I do think they're still around. It's still kind of this massive thing to have a last name, and it does still give you some type of status. You guys can chime in. I know, like I said, Leslie, you talked a little bit about it before, as far as your when you was doing your research on the House of Ramirez. So, do you guys still think that's kind of a thing in this day and age? You can go. Yeah, you can go.
Yeah, so I would say yeah, it's just like colorism. Colorism is real in whatever race that you're in. You know, if you're darker, you're gonna be treated a certain way. If you're lighter, you're gonna be treated a certain way. For the longest, I am lighter. I'm a lighter Mexican. So I was always outcasted from the darker Hispanics because I was too white. And then I was outcasted from the white crowd because I was too hood to be with the white crowd. So then my black brothers and sisters are like, "Man, you our sister. You okay with us?" So I was like, "Okay." So I like fit in somewhere. You know, I was fitting somewhere. But with last names, I think it's the same thing. You know, certain last names do hold a little weight over others. But I honestly want to say, from my standpoint, personally, it's our obligation to make a name for ourselves, especially when we come
Definitely.
from very humble beginnings. You know, even Khadejah and everybody here right now, we seem to have overcame so much. And if people around us in our own communities, in our own circles, we have made a name for ourselves and we will continue to do so. And the way we teach our children, and for David, when you do have children, you will continue on that name for your family, both last names, because you use both. And there's nothing wrong with that, you know? And I feel like it's my obligation to make a name for myself. And when people down the road, centuries or decades down the road, they're like, "Oh yeah, that Ramirez. Oh yeah." You know, it's our obligation to do something about it. Ramirez is so common. But when they hear House of Ramirez, I want it to stand out years down the road. It's my job to do so.
And in a positive way, because you also, going back to, our kids getting older and bringing home somebody with the last name of somebody you went to school with and you know a little bit too much about, you know?
Definitely. Whoa, I don't know
Uh,
about this.
yeah, like, and so, you kind of know about their family ins and outs, and then you start to question, is this what we want our kid
Yeah,
involved with?
definitely.
Um, I kind of felt like that when I first started dating my husband because his family, his dad is not, he's known around town for not being a very honest guy. He's a good guy, but he's just not, I mean, he's a good-hearted person, but he's just not always truthful. Um, and so, when I sat down with my great-grandfather, um, to explain, because I had found out that my great grandfather and his great uncle were friends. I was sitting down and explaining, to him who I was dating, and he said, "Oh, he's not that man's son, is he?"
Mm,
As you know, and so that name, that connotation with those negative vibes, it can be positive or it can be negative. And that's one of the things my husband and I both have said, that we ourselves are working to break those generational curses, and our name, it's gonna there the connotation with it is does not always have to be bad, and we're gonna prove that.
definitely. I agree. Dion, you want to chime in, or do you think that they kind of hit the points already? Same for David. You guys can just chime in.
All right. So can you ask the question one more time?
So basically, the question is very long, but so basically, last names in back in the day, they determine your station in life and in society. It provided automatic social societal advantages for your family that might otherwise be unattainable. Do you think that is still the case in this day and age? So basically, just like how Lauren was saying, do you think last names hold a specific weight, whether it's positive or negative, in this day and age?
Yeah, most definitely to me, because I'm in a small town, so like everybody cousins. So like I get to see my wife like as soon as like even if like my wife's last name is not mine, but even though like if like I'm somewhere and they be like, you married to one of them Talmadges, right? And so then they'll be like, oh, let me help you out real fast, like you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So it's always, I think it does hold weight, but it's also, it definitely comes with its negative like it depends on how the family carries that name, because like let's say like again, like if you talk about my wife's uncles, like so like my wife's dad was a pastor before he passed, but like her uncles were straight gangsters. So like as soon as you hear about the Talmadges, you be like, which one? Like,
yeah,
Yeah.
I
yeah,
remember one dude was like, I got beat up by them like 5 years ago. I'm like, oh, I see.
yeah.
I just left at grandma's house and seen them. So you know what I'm saying? It can definitely hold a different weight, but I also think like at this point with my last name Washington, mine's is, since I had the blackest name of all in America. Uh, you know, um, I think hopefully, one day it's just a bunch of black folks walk up on me and be like, "We got you, dog." I'm be like, "My brother."
Definitely, bro. Definitely. David, what do you think? Do you think last names still hold weight, whether it's negative or positive in this day and age?
Well, I would put it in a realistic standpoint. In in the United States, I don't believe there is. There is like common names in certain fields of work. Like for example, throughout middle school and high school, like I ran into three teachers that were last name Strickland, you know, and stuff like that. But it's honestly different in the kind of country you're in. Like for example, I'll put here United States and let's just put North Korea, even though I feel a little bit uncomfortable talking about it because it's something serious over there.
Yeah.
Here in the United States, we all have equal opportunities. Our last name don't mean anything as long as it in the United States, it's the value we provide that'll put us in a certain status, and not the last name. But in contrary, like totalitarian communist countries like North Korea and some other ones, uh, the last names mean a lot. If you have this last name, you'll be wealthy for the rest of your life. But if you have this last name, you're condemned to poverty. And just say someone from your last name did something that the totalitarian leader didn't agree with or didn't like, you're condemned for life too, or you're even in danger for extinction. So really,
Wow.
it's just a matter of what type of world you're in, whether first world, second world, third world, and it's there's a bad side to it, especially in those countries, because I feel for those people. It's like I couldn't imagine how bad it could
Definitely.
be, but
Definitely.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree, man. Like sometimes I feel like just knowing that we have the privilege that we do have, I try to be grateful for it just because I know, like I
Yeah,
said, even when I was in South Korea, it wasn't bad. Like South Korea literally the military that's there, we're there basically to prevent North Korea to from invading. That's literally why the United States military is in South Korea. So when I was there, and I was around other South Korean people, you hear it talk saying like murmurs of like, oh, they're trying to do such and such, or they're trying to do such and such. And definitely I can agree as far as from a last name standpoint, it definitely like just people having specific names. Like some people even fled, which was like crazy. They fled from North Korea to South Korea, and they did have specific last names where there was just like, I can't do specific things because if I'm found out, I can, be, like you just said, extinct or whatever the case may be.
execute. Yeah.
um yeah, definitely. So I agree. I definitely agree with you from that standpoint. We're gonna wrap it up, you guys. We got two questions, but they're gonna be done individually before I go into the research that I found about you guys' last name. So this is for the men only. How important is it to make sure your kids have your last name? Yeah, Dion or David can go.
Well, my idea is that it would be something really important for me because it's the last name I have, and I looked at it from this standpoint of like the purpose of a human being without, just say, without God or without any responsibility or without any sense of purpose or without any job. As a male, is just to reproduce, you know. Like take for example the animal kingdoms, like for example the lion kingdom. Like their job to like, I gotta pass on my DNA forward and forward. And that same thing could be said for us in a matter of like we need to pass the last name down and make sure that doesn't die. And I see a I have two different feelings about it, you know. In part I agree, in part I kind of disagree, just simply because it sounds a little selfish in the matter. But in another part, I agree because it's like it's the last name, and I want to pass it on for as long as I can. But yeah, that would be my insight on it.
Okay, dope, dope. Dion, how important is it to make sure your kids have your last name?
Um, so my kids ain't got no choice. I think my daddy might be very upset if I'm not out here giving other last names.
Bruh.
Definitely with my family, like my dad, like my brother's a junior, so like we are definitely down with passing names. So I think I'm gonna just keep that going.
Yeah.
Definitely, I agree. Hey, I don't know. I know just being a dad, that was definitely one of the things because I know they're like my older brother. He doesn't. His last name isn't Grant, and I know we used to be like, yeah, you ain't a part of us, but we used to, it just be a joking thing. But he used to be like, it's not my fault, like, cause he has a different father. So his father was like, nah, you gonna have my last name. That was kind of the thing.
I would
But
watch you. Oh,
yeah, which was it was a crazy thing, but I know definitely with my children that wasn't even a question. It was just kind of like set in stone. The day I found out, like, oh my god, I'm pregnant, I'm like, okay, yeah, so this is the last name. Like, and she picked my fiance, she picked the first name, so I'm like, okay, you picked her first name, at least I have the ability to pick their last name, and it was no pushback. But I know in some certain situations there is pushback, but I ain't going for that. But definitely, yeah. So last names definitely is very important, and I think just having it. But just I know Dion, you can agree as well. And Lauren as well. When you have a daughter, it's kind of up in the air though. It's like, okay, you want to still, hey, make sure you keep, because I know there's some people who get married and it's just like they have two last names, and it's like I'm gonna keep my name and I'm gonna keep my husband's
Well,
name. So
and see, that's what my mother actually did with her ex-husband. He's deceased now, and she took his last name and hyphenated it with her
for
maiden
her,
name
yeah,
because she had 3 kids that were Fields, and she had 3 kids that were McPhersons.
okay,
And so she said that she wanted us all to have at least the same names with her.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. I can agree. I can agree how that can be. So this question is for Leslie and for Lauren. Either one of you guys can answer. How important is it for you to keep your last name? If you got married, because I know Lauren, you changed your last name. And Leslie, I don't know if you've been married or not, but how how important is it? Because I know some, like I say, women, you guys change your guys' last name. So how important is it?
Yeah. So I'm divorced, and then after I got divorced, I got engaged. I never got married. I've been single since 2016. This is not a dating intro. I'm just saying I took time to heal because I was a very fucked up person, and then I just enjoyed being single. But I am very open to the opportunity. Am I looking for that directly? Hell no. And am I open to changing my last name? Hell no. But first time I got married, I didn't change my name. It stayed Leslie Ramirez, married to blank Didi blank.
Was
And
that a problem though? Like, was that like any pushback from him? Was he like,
no, it
hey?
was it we were kids. We were so young. We were trying to be adults. And it was like, oh yeah, we gotta go change our name, or I gotta go change our name. Okay. We never did it. And then it was like, well, what's your name? Leslie Ramirez. "Yeah, what's your name? Da-da-da-da." And then it was like, oh, okay, cool, cool. Come on. But it never became like, how dare you? You haven't changed it? No.
Yeah.
I think that if somebody wants to do that, by all means, but I think that the first way, and that is not why I got divorced, for the record.
That was the main reason why I decided to get this divorce.
But moving forward, I do have certain things that I am older now, and I'd like to keep for myself, and especially the way I'm branded. I'm a walking brand everywhere I go. I
Some
just
claps for that too.
Oh,
Walking
thank
brands
you.
out here.
Yeah. So I just feel
Snapping
like,
on up.
yeah, I feel like it's a personal choice, and I choose not to moving forward. If that's an opportunity for me down the road, I'm more on walking on my own path, happy with myself and happy with who I am where I'm at. So if anybody ever aligns to that same frequency, then we'll walk life together. And I don't think, uh, with all due respect, I don't think that a piece of paper in contract form with this corporation that we call government will make our paths better. I think that it's a mental and emotional and physical, but some people prefer it that way, and that's cool. But for me, hell no. So
Thank you. Lauren, what about you?
Um, so my husband and I have been together, gosh, on the 27th of this month, we had our first date 10 years ago. Um, and we got married a year later, a year and 3 months later. I kept my maiden name until I guess I was pregnant with my third child.
Oh wow.
And it was just because I never got around to doing it. Um, but everywhere allowed me just to use Lauran Ward. It was just not like on my legal documentation or anything. And then I just decided one day that I wanted to go change my name, and I went and changed it.
Mm.
Because I mean, my husband didn't care, but he would always joke, we're bringing another child home, and you're still, rocking the maiden name that you said you wanted to get rid of.
Yeah.
And so, and then I just was like, okay, I had the time, so I did it, and I've not looked back, and I'm thankful that I've done it. I I can see where people can be very like, because I guess at some point it was, subconsciously, I guess I put it off because I wanted to be sure and be ready
Yeah.
that I was. So it was a good 4 years after we got married. And like I said, we've been together for 10 years this week. So
Do you guys so for yeah, definitely snapping on up.
congratulations.
Congratulations for that. I
Thank
want to ask actually Leslie and Lauren this. So it's kind of the same question that Dion and David. So do you guys is it like important for you guys children to have the father's last name?
So, to answer that question, for me, yes, because my last name means everything to me, regardless of the good or bad that it comes with, right? With my history with that last name, from my father. I I have three little boys, and my older two are from my ex-husband, and my youngest is from my ex-fiance. And all three of my children hold their father's last name. So I think that it's very important that they have that, as a young man, growing up in society, to have that name. They will always know who their mother is. My name and my brand will always be tied to them. My hard work will be, a reflection of who they are as well growing up, but no one should take their lineage, their last name from them, and definitely not me. So, even though I am a rebel and I choose not to take a man's last name, I will not take that from my boys. I'm 31. I'm an old hag, so maybe one day I will remarry and have more kids. And if I do, I will not change that last name from my children in the future. If that happens, from having their father's name, that's a legacy. That holds weight.
Definitely.
Girl, you ain't old.
That's what I'm saying.
No, you're not old at
you're
all.
nowhere
My
near
husband's
old.
31.
Appreciate
Yeah,
y'all.
I think we're all the same age besides David, but
Yeah.
I think, but most of us. Lauren, so what about you? Was it important for you to make sure your son has their father last name, or did you take a different route?
I think well, all four of my kids have their father's last name. And that was important for me when, they came in to do the birth certificate and I had not legally changed my name. I told them, we are married, but I haven't changed my name yet. And so we all were able to be listed on the birth certificate with the last name Ward. But I also look back at my childhood, and had I been given my father's last name, now a lot of people don't know this, but my father is, I don't know. If you ask him, it's 100%. He's 100% Native American, but I don't know exactly how much percent of that is accurate because he does love to embellish sometimes. Um, so I do have Native American ancestry, and when I was robbed of having my father's last name, that heritage and culture was taken from me as well.
Mm.
Um, would I have wanted my father's last name? Probably. I really don't think I would have, but I would have liked to have been able to explore the culture and the ancestry and the heritage that I come from. I mean, I just think back of going into, uh, well, we call it NASA, but it's the Native American Student Association back in high school. I have a first cousin who is sitting on the front row, and I'm trying to go in, and they're like, "You're too white. This is not." And I'm
Yeah,
like, "That's my first cousin. Our dads are brothers, but I can't get in."
yeah,
And it. So I can definitely, and I guess because I didn't answer the questions right, I guess she felt like I really just didn't belong there. I
yeah.
don't know, but I felt, I guess jaded, and it's left a lot of questions of who I am as a person that I'm just now at 28, almost 29, finding out.
Definitely, definitely. Dion. So Dion and David. We're gonna flip it just like I flipped it with Leslie and Lauren. And I know that you're married. So for you guys, how important is it for you if you guys were to get married to make sure that you guys' wives has you guys' last name, or was that something that you guys don't care about?
So, so at first, we got married, right? And that was the plan.
Yeah.
As you can tell from Leslie and Lauren, you always don't get that last name changed at first. It, and I was out of pure laziness, like no cap. Like we were, and we always played about it too. We was just like, so we ain't gonna get this last name. She was like, whenever we go up there, I'm like, you
That
right.
was us. That was my
Yeah.
husband and I, literally.
Like, you be sitting there and you
I was
be want
always
to
with
give
my
it to
phone.
her, just lazy. It. Why did they make it so hard? Like, I just wish,
It
like,
is
when
so
you got married,
difficult.
that's when the name changed. Like that.
Yeah,
Like,
immediately.
Like
Hell no.
it's difficult because we don't even have the social security name place or whatever, like to go get the card. We don't have one locally.
For a reason. Stay away.
that makes it.
And
Just like
so
men, just like men are like, oh, you're not getting your name changed? Red flag. Women are like, you desperate for me to change my name? Red flag.
like,
No, I ain't gonna lie though. Me and my wife kind of made like a pact. We was like, look, all right. They say marriage is typically in the first 3-5 years. I like we make it past 5, you can change it, and then we do it. Cause I'm not
yeah,
I
gonna.
like that. I like that. I like that.
I guess
That's
we
No,
kind of
like
followed
we
that
even
rule.
did that with the ring.
You know,
Like she didn't get a
yeah.
ring like until
I
like we
can
made it.
agree
Like
with that,
cause I'm not even gonna play them games with you.
you living my life, Dion. Your wife is living my life because that is exactly what down to the no ring. Like
Yeah.
the magistrate was like, "You don't have a ring," and we were just kind of looking at each other like,
Not right now.
"Not right now. I'm pregnant and I can't fit rings on my fingers." So
Yeah. And that
Nah,
man.
them fingers do swell up when you're pregnant. I'm trusting. I'm dealing with them.
But yo, it goes back to like real love when there's that connection. There, you don't need the material things. It's all
nah,
here
and
and it's all right here. So
No,
I
facts.
agree with that. I agree. That's definitely right. When it's like that, you on that same, wavelength. Is like you don't need everything else. We on the same path. We're good.
Yeah.
David, what about you? Is that something that's major with you? Do you plan to make sure that your future wife, if you decide to get married, or your future partner, do you want them to have your last name?
Well, they can have one of them. Like for example,
Only
um,
one.
yeah, cause you see my name has my dad and my mom's last name in
Yeah.
it, and that's just something I look forward to replicating. Yeah,
Okay.
like
Dope.
plain and
Dope.
simple. And so, well, now going back to the real question, see, my mom has her full name, and my dad has his own full name. You
mm,
know, and I just don't see a problem with that. I just do want my kids to have at least one of my last names.
Okay.
And then my kids to have my partner's last name too, like in the combination. It's just like
Definitely.
in that aspect, it would be like a 50-50.
Okay. I know I seen
Yeah.
something crazy one time. I think it was on Oprah or something, but some young lady, she had like the longest last name ever or something like that.
Oh
It
yeah.
was something crazy. Like it took her almost like 2 or 3 minutes just to say her full name. It was like so ridiculously long. It's like her mom was just throwing stuff. And I think they asked, like, well, why did you do this? And I think she was like, well, I wanted her to stand out and be unique. And she's like, well, you hit that on the nail. It was
this girl
so
couldn't even write her name on the top line of the paper.
yeah, it was crazy. Like I was just like, whoa, that's kind of taking it overboard.
Imagine having to learn that in kindergarten,
I know, right? But
or
and
be
that's the
the
crazy
teacher having to teach it in
having to
kindergarten.
having to say it like it's
We
like
gonna
it's crazy.
abbreviate it today.
but y'all know in the Spanish culture, it's normal to have two or more last names. My
Right.
parents, because of the shit that they went through, they didn't want us to be like typical Hispanics. They forced us not to hear our cultural music, which now as an adult I'm yearning for it. I'm digging for it.
Right.
I make myself listen to it because that's me. But my parents for the longest they were like, "No, you're not going to do this. You're going to do jazz and rock and all this." I'm like, "Huh?" So, yeah, it would have been an honor to hold, my grandparents, both my grandparents' last name, but it's very common in our culture. It's like respect. It's respect. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Dope. Dope.
For sure.
So you guys, we are at the end. First of all, I want to thank you guys so much for coming up here and talking to me. Amazing discussion. You guys give y'all self a pat on the back. Just double pats, high fives or whatever. I'm gonna do the end portion where I'm gonna read some stuff that I found out, and she's doing the marketing. I'm gonna read some stuff that I found out. Very brief, starting out with you, Leslie. Even though you touched on it. So where is the Ramirez family from? That was like the first thing that I saw. All right, so from this, I guess you can say this map, it basically says you can see how Ramirez families moved over time by selecting different, I guess, different years when they just throughout the process. The Ramirez family name was founded in USA, but also is very, very common in Spain. So that was, I guess, that was something that you was touching on. And also it says Scotland, which is, I guess, is
Yes.
different.
Yes.
Um,
They
most of the Ramirez, yeah, most of their families were founded in 1920. In 1840 there were like three Ramirez families living in Louisiana. And this is basically census. So that's kind of something small that I found out about the Ramirez.
Okay.
Um the next one I have is Washington. So the Washington family. So first and foremost, kind of similar to hers, as far as you guys, most of the Washington family was founded in the USA, but you have a lot of roots in Canada. So it's like a lot of Washington that's in Canada. I guess they're with Drake, um, living it up in Toronto right now. And in Canada, they said most of them begin their move to the USA in 1880. In 1840, there were 43 Washington families living in Virginia. So maybe you have some roots in Virginia. That's where I'm from. Maybe we're cousins. Who knows? Maybe we have some. It's possible. But yeah, that's something that I found out about your family. Going to, and I may pronounce this wrong. David, say your last name and start with a T. Is it
Torrecilla.
Okay, Torrecilla. Okay, so I went to try to find both of them together, but I just found that one. It basically say historically surnames evolved as a way to sort people into groups. All right, most of the say it one more time. Torrecillas, right?
Torrecillas. Yeah.
Okay, Torrecillas. Of course, most of them are found, it said, in Mexico. However, what I did see is between 1970 and 2002, um, there were over 300 that were in the Chicago area. I don't know if you have any family that's in the Chicago area.
Uh,
And it also said that there was some tortillas in like San Diego. So I guess Chicago and California. You have
well, yeah, I got some relatives in LA. Matter of fact.
okay.
Yeah.
And then it goes on a list of a few people that were basically kind of prominent that come from that bloodline. Someone named Gabriel, Maria, and also there's a Juan. I guess these people were kind of like some of the most prominent people. With your last name. This one is from Gabriel's was in the 1560s, and Juan was in 1627. So back in a longer time frame where there were like some prominent people. Let's go to the wards. Even though your name was changed. All
Yeah.
right. So Ward is a old English origin and old Gaelic origin surname. Basically, the old English name derives from occupational surname of a civil guard, gatekeeper, or watch. So I guess somebody that was basically like in some type of like night area, war
Well,
area.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, my husband, well, no, that was his grandmother. His grandmother was first generation American.
Okay.
Her parents came from Ireland.
Yeah, and that's something I'm seeing right now. They said that a lot of them was in Ireland, also in the UK. It said in 1840 there were 650 Ward families living in New York. So I don't know if he has any family that's possibly up north in New York,
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. Okay.
They're up
Um,
north, but Wisconsin.
and I guess to end it off, Grant, my last name. A lot of them, which is kind of similar, they have some people in Canada, but also in Australia, which is, I guess, weird. Which is funny though, because recently I was looking at my stats, music stats, and I seen that I'm getting a lot of plays in Australia, which is kind of strange. So I don't know if this is like family there. Like maybe I'm seeing a lot of streams boosting up in Australia, so that's possible. But they
Okay.
basically said in 1840 there were also 283 families living in New York. So maybe Lauren, maybe Ashley, we have some connection. Well, maybe me and your husband has some connection there. Who knows? If you go deeper, deeper, deeper down the
Way
bloodline,
deep.
I'm pretty
Look,
sure
You're
There's a
already
connection.
family, so you know.
You already know you know you're my sister, so I know for sure is a possibility. But yeah, you guys, look, thank you guys so much. The goal was to have a great conversation. Stegall, let me do her last time, even though she wasn't here. But Stegall for Khadejah, actually very very long. I noticed that this web page basically said from the 1543s always up to 1679. There were a lot of noble Stegalls living in UK, so maybe she has some. Her husband has some family over there. Also, it basically said it's an Anglo-Saxon name, like culture. So there's a possibility, like I said, she has some type of family in that area. But
Yeah.
thank you guys so much, Leslie, Lauran, Deion, David, and Khadejah, for having this discussion with me. My goal is to have this discussion video out next Monday. So I'll be working on it, just basically chopping it up, kind of creating some intros, send it to you guys, and you guys share it with your families. It's going to be on YouTube as far as
All
the
right,
link
for
and
sure.
stuff, but share it with your family, your friends, your fans, because I know Leslie got a lot of them. Share them to your people who's chiming in, and just have them be a part of this conversation. I know we had a few technical difficulties, so I'm gonna try to chop out as much as I can, but for the most part, I think we was able to keep it rolling. So, like I said, we talked for almost 2 hours. And I'm very talkative. I'm a talkative person. Like people say I can talk people's heads off. So, yeah. I
Well,
think
you're
we
doing
all
All of
perfect.
us.
I
All
chew
of
ears
us.
off, so
I think a lot of us got that same intensity as far as when it comes to having conversation. So thank you guys so much for being a part of this discussion. I learned so much about you guys families, and you guys last name, which I think was what the purpose of this discussion was about. Thank you so much. I'm gonna end the live right
Thank you.
now. You guys have a
thank
blessed
Thank you.
you.
night. Talk to some
Have
of
a
you
good
guys
one.
Thank you
soon.
to
Nice to meet
everyone.
you guys.
Everyone.
Nice to
I
meet
learned I
y'all.
Thank
learned
you
some
guys.
really good
Love
stuff from y'all.
y'all.
Thank you.
And
Stay
Y'all
make
have a
sure
good
safe.
one.
and make sure too, you guys, if you don't follow each other,
Yes.
I'm pretty sure I follow most of you guys
I
already on
just need
Instagram.
David's Instagram. That's it.
Yo, Jaquan, can you just put a
Eh,
group chat in Facebook and add all of us?
Yeah, I can do that. I don't know. Is everyone on Facebook
I
though?
don't know. I'm not on
Yeah,
Facebook.
see, yeah,
Yeah.
he's on Instagram. I know he's on
I'm on
IG. I can
Instagram. Yeah.
okay, I can I mean if you guys want to, I can try to send out everyone's Instagram, I guess, in like a
Yeah,
group
yeah,
DM
you're
or something.
following me.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, group
DM.
DM.
Okay, I can group DM it and just kind of send everyone Instagram so we can follow and just keep up. And yeah, just go from there. All right.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
sounds
Thank
great.
All
you.
right.
Have